There are crimes that shake the world. And then there's Ed Gein, a quiet, almost invisible man living in rural Wisconsin who became the twisted inspiration behind Psycho, the Texas Chain Saw Massacre, and the Silence of the Lambs. The pop culture stories are terrifying, but the real horrors behind them, far worse. So graphic, so psychologically disturbing, that many TV series and documentaries skip them entirely. What was found in Ed Gein's farmhouse in 1957 left hardened officers speechless. These are 10 real Ed Gein horrors that even Netflix didn't show. This is not a story for the faint of heart. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. Number 10, The Bone-Littered Farmhouse. When police stepped through the door of Ed Gein's farmhouse on that cold November night, they weren't prepared for what they were about to see. The air was thick, damp, sour, and unnatural. Every step they took echoed through silence that felt almost alive. Then they saw it. Bones everywhere. Human bones scattered on the floor like discarded tools, stacked in corners, arranged on shelves as if they were part of the decor. These weren't the clean skeletons you'd see in a classroom. They were raw. Some still carried traces of flesh. Some had been carved, scraped, or repurposed. Investigators later said walking through that house felt like stepping into a graveyard where the graves were inside the walls. It wasn't just a crime scene. It was a museum of the dead, and Ed was its only curator. Number 9, Furniture made of human remains. People often hear about Ed Gein's furniture in passing. What's usually left out is how personal it all was. Investigators found chairs carefully upholstered with strips of human skin stretched tightly across the frames, lampshades crafted from the faces of women. Ed didn't just collect bones, he built with them. He designed his home like a shrine to death. Every object created with precision and patience. Think about that for a moment. Someone sat in those chairs, someone turned on those lamps, and Ed lived with these things as if they were part of his everyday life. No screaming, no chaos, just quiet, organized horror. Number 8, the Skin Mask Collection. Tucked away in a cabinet, officers found something they would never forget. Masks, dozens of them, made from human faces. Some still had hair attached, eyelashes, traces of lipstick. Ed had carefully removed these faces, treated them to preserve the skin, and wore them around the house at night. Witness accounts later revealed he'd even pull on these masks during moonlit walks through his empty property, alone, wearing someone else's face. This wasn't just about murder, it was transformation. He was trying to become something or someone else. Years later, this single chilling detail would inspire Leatherface in the Texas Chain Saw Massacre, but even the movie didn't show the reality this clearly. 7, the full-body woman suit. Perhaps the most infamous object in that house was found hanging in a locked closet. A suit, not made of cloth, made of human skin. Ed had sewn together parts of multiple women, breasts, torsos, legs, even genitals, to create a suit he could wear. A suit that let him step into a woman's body, or at least his twisted version of one. When night came, Ed would put on the suit, pull one of the skin masks over his face, and walk around the house pretending to be someone else. Neighbors said they sometimes saw a flickering light in his windows late at night, unaware that the man inside was wearing the remains of the dead. This ritual wasn't about power, it was about identity, about a man trying to escape his own skin. Number 6, the desecrated graves. For years, no one in Plainfield, Wisconsin suspected that Ed Gein was digging up graves. But after his arrest, the shocking truth came out. Ed had been visiting local cemeteries in the dead of night. He'd bring a shovel, lantern, and sometimes a crowbar. He targeted freshly buried women who reminded him of his late mother. He didn't always take entire bodies. Sometimes he removed specific parts, skin, skulls, organs, then carefully reburied what he didn't want. Investigators later exhumed some graves Ed claimed to have robbed, and what they found confirmed everything: disturbed coffins, missing remains, and evidence of surgical precision. Ed Gein wasn't just a killer, he was a grave robber, a collector of the dead. 5, the hooks in the barn. While the farmhouse was horrifying, the barn was worse. Hanging from the wooden rafters were large meat hooks, the kind hunters used to dress deer. On the night police raided the farm, they found a freshly butchered body hanging upside down, headless, gutted, and dressed exactly like a hunter would prepare game. This was the body of Bernice Warden, the woman whose disappearance led them there. Ed had strung her up, slit her from neck to pelvis, and drained her blood. The quiet farmer everyone waved to at the hardware hardware store, had turned his barn into a slaughterhouse. Number 4. Jars of preserved body parts. Inside Ed's kitchen, officers began opening drawers and cabinets, only to find jars, dozens of them. Inside those jars were preserved human remains. Some were organs, others were pieces of skin or bone fragments. They weren't labeled like medical samples, but they were organized, stacked, placed with care. Some jars were found next to cooking utensils. This detail is so grotesque that most documentaries either glance over it or skip it entirely. But to the officers who saw it, it's something they never forgot. One investigator admitted that after that night, he couldn't eat a single home-cooked meal for months. Number 3. The rituals inside the suit. Ed Gein's crimes weren't just about collecting, they were about becoming. In his own confession, he admitted to putting on the woman's suit and masks at night, sometimes dancing in front of mirrors, sometimes walking outside under the moon. He was reenacting his twisted fantasy of bringing his mother back. Psychiatrists would later diagnose him with severe psychosis and necrophilic tendencies. But Ed never saw himself as a monster. He believed he was doing what needed to be done to feel whole again. That is what made him truly terrifying. He didn't think what he did was wrong. Number 2, the shrine to his mother. Through the filth, rot, and horror of that house, there was one untouched room, his mother's bedroom, pristine, dust-free, curtains still drawn, furniture arranged as if she'd just stepped out moments ago. Ed worshipped his mother, Augusta, with fanatical devotion. Her strict, abusive religious beliefs shaped him into the man he became. While he desecrated other people's bodies, he preserved hers in memory like a saint. That untouched room was the quiet heart of all the darkness. Ed wasn't just trying to collect the dead, he was trying to replace her. Number 1, the final confession. When police finally arrested Ed Gein, he didn't resist. He sat calmly in the interrogation room and described his acts like he was reading from a grocery list. He admitted to grave robbing, creating the skin suit, preserving body parts, and wearing the faces of women. There was no anger, no guilt, just a chilling, matter-of-fact tone. To him, this wasn't horror, it was routine. His case changed how America viewed the quiet man next door, and his crimes would become the blueprint for some of the most terrifying fictional killers in history. But nothing on film ever quite matches the real story. Ed Gein wasn't a legend, he was real. A man who turned a farmhouse into a tomb and grief into unspeakable rituals. These weren't Hollywood exaggerations, they were real horrors. Too disturbing for even Netflix to recreate in full. If you made it this far, remember, true evil doesn't always wear a mask. Sometimes it looks like the neighbor who waves at you from across the fence. This was Ed Gein.